Hey Zen fam. So, we by now would all have been talking about the PlayStation 4 software release, with hopefully a tasty bit at the end that would have maybe shown us the console. We'd have got price or data, remember, but they might have just teased us. But as I'm sure all of you are painfully aware, we weren't able to get that. Now, I am in no means whatsoever taking away from the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement, or from the absolute murder of the belated Mr. George Floyd. It was, of course, a travesty, and it should never have happened. Neither should any of the other almost countless amount of black cop on civilian murders that have happened in North America. In fact, all racism is completely and utterly wrong and should be stamped out at every juncture. I think anybody that's been around this channel for any length of time understands that I personally do not stand for such things. In fact, in my own personal life, when I have seen any form of racism, if I have a means to stamp it out, I do. I would have nearly got myself in trouble at work a couple of times for the fact that I have told racists off for being racist. If probably not for the fact of the recent pandemic, there's a chance that I could have got told off for that. But luckily that came along and saved my hide. But trust me when I tell you this, I do not stand for that kind of behaviour. So this is not an admonishment of Sony for postponing the PlayStation 5 software announcement for Black Lives Matter in respect for Mr. Lloyd, his family, and all those that have suffered before. So with that understanding on the bedrock of this video, I would now like to begin properly. Hello! So, right. Okay, so we've now got our PlayStation 5 announcement, for software at least. So, let's go over some points that Sony really need to nail home. And they really need to do this because there is now a noticeable PR gap, you know. They've obviously, in some quarters, created goodwill with the recent move. And obviously there'll be some people who believe that it was a good move, but perhaps it was a move too far, you know. Note what happened, but did they actually have to go ahead and postpone the event? And what they really need to do now is, first things first, give us a date when the replacement announcement comes, you know. We obviously can't have it now because, well, that now has been and gone. But when can we have it? You know, when do we get the data? That's what we'd really like to know at this point. When can we get the data? When can we find out? When can we see stuff? And aside from that, what are we going to see, you know? Because now that we've missed this particular one, I propose, and admittedly, I am not a Sony executive, I am not a businessman, but for my money, as a consumer, as a gamer, as a content creator, and as a long time day one PlayStation fan, I gotta say, they gotta come hard, they gotta come big, they gotta just blow our minds. I say, do like 90 minutes, do everything. Absolutely bomb the hell out of the news cycle. Hit us with everything. So here are some points I think Sony need to definitely make sure to do in the replacement announcement. Whenever hell that is, and please God Sony, do tell us when it is. We'd like to know, and hopefully it's on before I have to go back from furlough to work, so I can see it properly and hopefully make decent videos for you guys upon it. So obviously the first thing we want is we want the machine to be sleek, smooth, sexy. We don't want this monolith, because one, that'd be like what Microsoft has got, and the two companies, you know, regardless of anything else, they always need to look different from each other. So what's going to be the most different thing from this big black oblong cuboid monolithic tower of power, as the X fans like to call it? Well, quite simply, a smooth, sleek, long piece of beautiful electronics. Something that has beautiful machined edges and just looks almost alive. It's something really quite alluring. Something that has a bit of oomph to it. A design that sticks out, but with a design language that will remain evocative for years to come. I mean, we still think about when the PlayStation 4 came out and how surprising that shape was, and how surprising the shape of the PS3 was, and the PS2. Every time Sony have come out, they've produced an interesting console to look at that's become an iconic shape of its time and forevermore. I mean, the retro sort of 1980s hi-fi equipment look at the PS2 does have legendary status, or status, depending on your poison of pronunciation. And that's one of the things we definitely need for the PlayStation 5. Obviously, it would need to come at a sensible price. Most people are saying that they're expecting to pay about $500. I've heard that both in USD and in pound sterling. Now, if that's in USD, that means for us over here in the so-called United Kingdom, we're probably going to be looking at about $450, $480, which I can live with. I've got that and more of that put aside, so that's grand. If it's 500 here, that's grand as well. I've got that put away. I'm good. So as long as it's a sensible price for the equipment that's in it, and Sony have to be very clear about what's inside. They have to make the general public understand why it costs what it does. They have to tell us what's inside it and what good it does for the gamer and for gaming, without getting into overly super technical Mark Cerny send you to sleep technobabble. I mean, don't get me wrong, details are good. Overly complicated details put out with that maleficent tone, that musical, soft lulling voice that Mark Cerny has, which is a wonderful voice to listen to. But after a while, if you listen to it for a long period, it's too relaxing. I mean, put your hand up if out there you've had trouble getting to sleep and you found that speech from the CES that didn't happen and you used it to help you get to sleep. Yeah, I did that. So yeah, okay, so we definitely need a sleek machine, and we need to have a good understanding of what's inside it to justify a sensible price. Now, in the box, obviously in the box, there needs to be free subscriptions. There needs to be a free subscription to PlayStation Plus and a free subscription to PlayStation Now. Little vouchers. Anywhere from at least 6 months to both of them being 12-month subscriptions. Sweeten the deal. Make people get them on this service, because let's face it, if you're going to entice new people to PlayStation Now, which not a lot of people use, You give them a 12-month voucher for PlayStation Now. Chances are, once they've gotten used to it, once they've gotten hooked, they're going to want to keep going with it. It's like with Netflix or with Spotify. A lot of Spotify's model is we give you this first 3 months for a ridiculously low amount of money, and then you pay us the normal amount the rest of the time because you've gotten used to the idea of, the level of service that comes with the paid subscription. Me personally, I don't care. I just let the ads run. I just ignore them. But that's me, I'm the frugal Scot. Yeah, so PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus subscriptions in the box. Now, whether or not they actually make improvements to those services and merge them together or whatever, or at very least lower the prices of the subscriptions, that's a discussion for another day. But another thing that has to be from day one, there has to be support for the current headsets. So that's the gold headset and that's the platinum headset. They have to work with PlayStation 5. Because if you're expecting people to chuck a fair chunk of change at the new system, then the headsets have to work. It's that simple. And considering both headsets have been designed in such a manner that they fit neatly round PlayStation VR, which works with PlayStation 5, then obviously this makes sense. And to have to get another headset again just wouldn't be tenable. Now, yes, I know that the Pulse headset did work with PlayStation 4, but it took some time before they actually gave us that ability. The Pulse headset was delayed in its accessibility to PlayStation 4. You could plug in the dongle, but nothing would happen till they actually gave the update, and that was a wee bit away. But they did do it. I would like to hope that with PlayStation 5, that update is day one. They also, at the show, have to give us a clear outline, plan, whatever you want to call it, for how any form of memory extension is going to work. Microsoft have already said that they're giving us this wee sort of SD card type, not SD card, SSD mini card type thing that's going to be an extension to the memory. Now, whether or not you think that's a good idea, the fact of the matter is Microsoft have told the gamer what they want to do. They've given us an idea. Now, whether or not you think that's a good idea is irrelevant to the point that I'm making. The point is, Microsoft have told the gamer. Sony need to tell the gamer what it is, because even though the SSD will be all very clever, you won't have to have multiple versions of the same assets over and over and over, because of the high read rate of the drive. You don't need to have multiples of the same lamppost for a city environment, or whatever. You can have just one of it and copy it at will, for the environment. That's part of what makes it happen so fast, is because it doesn't have to continually do search through the 600 million bits and pieces around for an environment. You can have one of each thing and plug them as needed, which means games don't have to be as big on the disc or on the download, which means even though the games will be bigger and more complex, they won't take up more space than they do now. In fact, they might actually take up less. But with that in mind, there are always people that want to upgrade their hard drive. I mean, I took the 500 in my PlayStation 4 here, and as soon as I possibly could, which was like in about a month after I got her, I chucked a terabyte in. That's what you do. You chuck in a terabyte hard drive. So that's exactly what I did. And I imagine there'll probably be some of us out there that will put up the money and stick in like a a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive into the PlayStation 5. Now obviously it's going to have to be one that Sony specified, because after all, the PlayStation 5 hard drive is designed for the PlayStation 5 and nothing else, and they have said themselves that you can't just lob in any old SSD. It's got to be one that's compatible with the system. Fair dues. But you have to tell us which ones are and how we can do it. Or release ones of your own so we can whip one out and stick the other one in. And, I think that should be a thing. Maybe even, have some sort of trading scheme so we can hand the old one back so then it can go forward for other machines, so then you don't have to spend as much money on your production line putting new SSDs into new PlayStation 5s when you can get a refurbished or like new SSD from other users PlayStation 5s when they've upgraded to a higher capacity drive. Now, admittedly, I'm getting a bit fancy there, but it'd be nice if there was something like that. Maybe even if you buy it directly from Sony and you send that in and they give you a little bit of a discount, that sort of thing. Something very consumer focused, something very Sony, something, quite honestly, something very Japanese. That is, part of the kind of thing that a lot of Japanese companies do. They like to look after the customers. They like to, encourage loyalty. And that's a way you definitely encourage loyalty, when you offer choices and options and ways that make it less of a sting. The other thing I would obviously like to see is, as a content creator, I bought the PlayStation camera first thing, straight out the box. But admittedly, when I bought that, I didn't buy it for that. I bought it because I knew that the PlayStation camera was going to do things for games and be useful for the sign-in and stuff. Now admittedly, we didn't know about PlayStation VR back at that time. But the camera with PlayStation VR and the light bar, it has proven that it is part and parcel. I mean, yes, you can operate a PlayStation without the camera, but it does make some things faster and some things more sleek. And it also means that if you do not have a headset, you can still communicate with people because it has a microphone in it. And then your friend's voice comes out your telly. God, this is a long one. So, the PlayStation camera does have its uses, and for me, as a content creator, sits there up on top of my telly, shooting me right now, with this green screen, allowing me to talk to you in the manner that I do. But the PlayStation 3, as I'm sure a lot of you know, also had a camera. And one of the things that PlayStation 3 camera could do was video conferencing. Now, video conferencing would be nice to have back, just as an added sort of feature. I mean, how much do we see people doing video chat now on phones, with your iMessage and, Facebook Messenger and Skype and, you name it. There's quite a few, video chat functions. I mean, look how we live now in the era of Zoom and Skype and, there's a lot of video chat going about. And what would be nice, for me, is if there could be a video chat on PlayStation 5 where I could then use that video chat as an engine for a podcast. If I could do that, that would cut out so much stuff. But then obviously, if you're going to have this camera for PlayStation 5, it's got to be better than the one for PlayStation 4, because the one for PlayStation 3 was better than the one for PlayStation 2, and the one for PlayStation 3 was, the one for PlayStation 4 is obviously better than the one for 3. And the PlayStation 2 camera was a good bit of kit. Yes, I had that as well, because, like I've said before, I'm a Sony fan. So it's definitely got to have better lenses, it's got to have better autofocus, it's got to have a better depth of field. Because I have to zoom in a bit on myself for these videos. Because my green screen literally only goes to, hang on, if I put my fingertips to where the green screen actually goes to, you see where it stops, and you see where it stops. Now, probably some of you out there go like, well, why didn't you just get a bigger green screen? 2 points. One, I can't. It's like, if I get a bigger green screen, nobody could use the doors to the lounge. Because I shoot in my lounge. Because I am a very small time YouTuber. And secondly, I kind of like being this size on the screen. This is a good size for chatting to you guys, conveying my points. And when I make a facial expression and stuff, you know, you can see what I'm saying. You don't just hear the words, you see me animated and live right for you. And I just happen to think that this is a good format. So when I'm on a phone or a tablet, I look alright. I'm a good size. I'm a great size on TVs. Unfortunately, when you see me on a TV, if you ever do watch it that way, like if you watch me on your console through your telly, you've probably noticed that I look a bit fuzzy. That's because this is a heavily zoomed in image. If we had better cameras, a better camera with the PlayStation 5, then one would like to assume that I would not look as fuzzy on that, given that we do now have the create button instead of the share button. And with that, one would like to hope that yes, there will be an upgrade to Share Factory, which is how I obviously make a lot of my videos. Some of them are IRL content, some of them are done on the tablet when I do the quickie videos, but by and large, most of my content is done right here on the PlayStation in Share Factory. And long may that continue, because I actually quite like this particular tool. Right, so we've covered memory size, we've covered cameras, we've covered PlayStation services, apart from of course PSN itself. PSN itself needs an update again, and I know it's continually having tweaks and that rate it, but it needs a freshen up. The UI needs to be faster, the service needs to be quicker, and it just needs sprucing up. So obviously with that, you start thinking of side things like obviously like video chat, but then there's also stuff like PlayStation communities. Now I quite like PlayStation communities, but you know what? It's a functionality that PlayStation have never really done much with. There seems to be, and I hate to say it, some wasted potential PlayStation communities. I mean, you can't even have it on your phone anymore. You know, I thought it was quite a useful tool to have it on my phone, but not anymore. So yeah, they took it off phones, put it back on the phones, okay, for starters, and do more with it. Allow us to have it be a much more flexible tool. You know, lay down voice messages even on it, increase the character count, increase the, you know, ability to leave more kinds of links. It's just, you know, and make it faster to load, because loading PlayStation communities is a very slow affair in comparison to a lot of apps of a similar design upon other devices. And while we're talking about, obviously, other devices, there has always been a call, for as long as there's been an idea of a PlayStation 5, which is probably about 6 months after the PlayStation 4, that what the system needs is backwards compatibility. Now, there are many arguments back and forth about backwards compatibility. Is it worth it? Does it need it? Who really plays it? How much use will it get? Does having a chipset or an emulation engine for each one of the 4 prior machines, how much does that cost? You know, how much does that make the end product be when it comes to a financial decision for purchasing by the likes of you and me? And that is obviously a factor. However, if it's a factor in the other way, because Microsoft have done it the last two consoles, and Sony used to do it the previous two consoles. PlayStation 3 and the PS2 both compatible to the previous stuff. All the stuff on PlayStation 1, play on PlayStation 2. All the stuff on PlayStation 1 and 2 could be played on an original PlayStation 3. The original 60 gig model, which I used to own and loved dearly. But you want to know something? Even though I had that capability, I scarcely ever used it. Now, admittedly, there's a caveat from me personally when it comes to backwards capability. I would like to see backwards compatibility, but just to PlayStation 3. You're like, but why, Zimblo? Simple. Because stuff on PlayStation 3 still looks respectable. It's still HD. It's still like, Blu-ray standard stuff. And the reason I think it'd be good is because there's a whole bunch of stuff that people have digitally from PlayStation 3 in their libraries. And then that would also mean that PlayStation 3 stuff could come back to the monthly games collection. Because let's face it, it's going to be a while before we can have, PlayStation 5 games on the monthly games section for PlayStation Plus. So it'd be nice if, each month there was one PlayStation 3 games, two PlayStation 4 games, and a PSVR title. And then once the PS5 titles start to come out a bit and we get a bit more deep into the catalogue, give it a year or two, then there's a PS3 title, a PS4 title, a PSVR title, and a PS5 title. Get a nice even spread worth that 50 quid a year. Let's think of 50 quid a year, that's a fair chunk of change to some people. Now, admittedly, when you actually add up the value of software given over a yearly basis on PlayStation Plus, it is definitely worth more than 50 quid. That is definitely a truism, but it wouldn't hurt. In fact, it'd be a really nice, yet again, consumer move. So we got another thing that would be really good, as I was saying before about the share factor, the share capacity and the create button. It'd be nice as when we have the PlayStation 5 running that the PlayStation app on our phones gets a serious upgrade. Like a real proper file sharing for the content creator range and whatever it's going to be called. Probably Share Factory 2.0, let's say. Okay, so Share Factory 2.0, we need to be able to film something in our phone in real life and zap it straight to the PlayStation. No more mucking about with a USB stick and a computer and then adding up the file and then sticking it to the machine and then the machine not being able to read the file because something went wrong somewhere. We need something that just works. No mucking about, just works. I would like to add more music files to these videos so you guys can listen to some more varied tunes. Unfortunately, even though I have a website where I can get good tunes, and the ones that you hear most often on this channel came from that website, for some reason, now when I try to upload those songs from that website onto the pooter, from the pooter to a stick, from the stick to the Share Factory, they won't go across. Don't know why, but they won't. Video, no problem. Music, problem. So there needs to be a means of making this a smoother transition. And if I'm shooting things like I'm going out to Resonate, or maybe someday I actually do become big enough so I can afford to go do things like go to Gamescom for you guys, a report from Gamescom and make a video and shoot it to you guys. The ability to actually send all that stuff from my phone, through the Wi-Fi, through the internet, straight to my PlayStation, come back from Germany, edit it all together, you know, and then like go ta-da. That would be wonderful, you know. I mean, obviously there would have to be some sort of server requirement or something, I don't know, but the idea that I could actually send my content straight from my phone straight to my PS5 would be an absolute godsend as a content creator. And considering that one of the things you're able to do on PlayStation 4 in the Share Factory is make GIFs. Yeah, you make GIFs. Or GIFs depending on your pronunciation, you know, type thing, but you know, GIFs or GIFs, whatever you want to call them, you can make them on PlayStation 4 in Share Factory. Almost nobody does it, but you can do it. But I think the only reason that nobody does it is because nobody cares about it. So, better file sharing. That would be a thing. And with file sharing, of course, we need game gifting. If you could, like, you know, buy somebody a digital game on your system and send it to them, you know, like you got a friend, and you know they're a bit skint, but you want to get them a birthday present, you know, and they, you know, you want to get them a game, and you don't want to have the hassle of putting that game in the post. Wouldn't it be lovely if you could just send them the game? You know, you buy it for them. A gift. Better yet, there are some YouTube channels that like to give games away. Imagine if these channels could give users games without having to send them a game in the post. Wow. Not only would that be cheaper for those YouTube channels, it would also be better for the environment. So we got environment, we got the game sharing, we've got the content creation, you know, we got the mobile app. There's another thing that needs to happen. Some of you may remember quite some time ago, I got my account suspended. And by the time I actually got through enough questions and worked the guy down from PlayStation support, what had happened was somebody had made a complaint against me for hate speech. Now, if you remember what I was saying at the front of the video, that is not how I was raised. That's not how I roll. That's just not the kind of thing I do. I don't do hate speech. What I think had probably happened was I probably must have really annoyed some 14-year-old by doing him in Grand Theft Auto or something, and he decided to take retribution upon me by getting my account suspended. So I spent 3 weeks unable to go online with my PlayStation. I could still play offline, but I couldn't go online. All because some kid out there decided to have a go, and I couldn't do anything to disprove what he said. So I had to take the suspension and go with it. And Sony were reluctant to tell me that much. So yeah, there needs to be a better oversight on how suspensions are handled. You know, there needs to be a clearer chain of evidence for that. But there also needs to be better spam controls, because the amount of times I have to send in a message about a account that's quite clearly a bot trying to get, you know, me to click to its porn site because they're hoping I'm a thirsty 14-year-old boy, you know. It's like, I mean, I've got no problem with porn, but you know, when you consider there are minors involved in this situation, then nah, that just doesn't fly. Because you shouldn't be getting your hands on that kind of stuff when you're that young in age, because it can kind of screw you up. Seriously, it can, right? But that's kind of too serious, so I'll leave that alone. But yeah, upgrading the customer support service And the fact that PlayStation have taken away the forums and stuff from the main website, you put that back, Sony. That was a useful resource. It was a community resource, and it was a good resource that needs to be reinstated. Even if it's a complete reboot and all the previous stuff is gone, bring it back, because there's going to be a lot of initial TV trolls with PlayStation 5, and people are going to need that resource. Or not everybody has got the money for that premium rate phone number. If PlayStation fans can talk to each other, that's great, because then we can learn from each other. Because sometimes people find out things and they help each other out. That's part of the PlayStation family. So yeah, stop people being able to like make false claims, and when claims are made, they're properly investigated, so then they're done in a timely fashion, but they're done to the correct people. And of course recently we've had a debacle where we can't get on YouTube on our PlayStations. At the time of recording of this video, and I checked just before I did, I still can't get on onto YouTube on my PlayStation. Yes, okay, I can, go into the settings, add my phone and call up the videos on my phone, and then they come up through my PlayStation. But it still feels kind of janky. I mean, it's smooth and everything, but it just feels janky. I don't feel like I have quite the same level of control. So yeah, there needs to be improvements to the YouTube server as regards its PlayStation 5 use. And if there's an improvement that needs to be made, then here are the improvements. 1. A working comments section, please, Sony. And YouTube, obviously. The idea that you have YouTube without comments in 2020? Are you barking mad? That's just barbaric, okay? The idea that we can't comment on videos, I mean, that's a big part of what YouTube is, the commenting. Alright? So we need the comments. And for us content creators, back again with the content creator bit, once I've made a video in Share Factory 2.0, even a nice little upgrade, it's just Share Factory, where I could actually put my thumbnail in, that would be kind of useful if I could make the thumbnail on my PlayStation and then add the thumbnail into the upload. That would speed things up considerably, because right now, as it stands, once this video is made, right, the video is made, edited together, I've put down the music track underneath the audio track, I've got all the visuals lined up, everything looks lovely, I've got the like and subscribe that scroll across the screen. I probably just put my fingers the wrong way, but hey ho. Yeah. And then I come into YouTube, and on my phone I've made my thumbnail, because that's where I make a lot of my thumbnails, because I've got some nice tools I could do good thumbnails with, and I try really hard with my thumbnails. And so then thumbnails made on the phone, I put that into Dropbox, onto my computer, from Dropbox into the YouTube server. Once I add the thumbnail, and then I have to go to the end card there, and then chuck in thing from the last video, and then I have to go into the pinned card, and then leave a thing for the Redbubble store. And there's a lot of things that go into making a YouTube video, especially if you're trying to make a quality product. So if you could take some of those steps out, where I could put my thumbnail in the actual upload, that would be brilliant. So comments and thumbnail uploads, please Sony, please YouTube, work together on this and make it work for us, your customers. That would be so very, very useful. Oh, wow, I've gone on for a really long time on this, but it's just a bunch of stuff that I really think is needed. Yeah. And I would like to say, please clear up, the mystery of the DualSense. Is it a light bar? Is it a light strip that goes round the touchpad and under the touchpad and back again, or is it just on the two sides? I would like to believe for the camera usage for PlayStation VR and signing in capacities and tracking and such that it is a continuous stream of light that goes round, rather than just two little strips of light going around the bottom edge and sides of the touchpad, and that the light strip is adaptive, which means, when it doesn't need to be on, it's not on. So when we're playing a game that doesn't use that light strip, it's not on. When we're not using VR functionality that uses that light strip, it's not on. It's only on when it needs to be on. Like if you're using the system to sign in with the camera like you do now, you show your pad and the little light comes up and it registers your face and registers the thing and puts the two together for the biometrics. In fact, the biometrics need to be better on PlayStation 5. That's a given, because sometimes my wife can look at it and she'll register with my face. Yeah, it's like beardy boy here, and my wife it's just sorry, you need to fix that. In fact, if anything, when it comes to biometrics and stuff, you've spoken about how you want to have voice commands, and I spoke about that on my podcast with Toad Gaming. That I want to see better voice functionality. I mean, we have it now in our homes with our Googles and our Alexas and and Siri and all the rest of it. So giving voice commands to the PlayStation 5 needs to be better than the PlayStation 5 voice commands, because right now they're not that great. And from a personal level, as a Scotsman, voice commands sometimes ain't that hot. So if you can fix it for regional variations and accents, that would be a double whammy. In fact, if you could say that it could understand Scottish people in that, then wow, you got a selling point right there. It's like PlayStation 5's voice operating software can understand, let's say 50% more accents than any other voice operating software currently on the market. If you could say something like that in the advert, oh baby, oh. Anyway, I'm gonna stop now because I'm kicked on for over 40 minutes here, and if I carry on, that I probably will come up with more things. But I've already made this video quite long, so I think I better shut up and let you get on with the rest of your lives. And I'll obviously see you hopefully in the next video, and if you're new and you stuck to this end, I really hope you subscribe, because I am making the push to 350, and hopefully you've seen the video from a couple of videos ago where I'm going to be setting up that competition for winning two people win a t-shirt from my Redbubble store of their picking once I get to 500, as long as but the competition will end on the 23rd of October, my birthday. So one of the things I've got to do real soon is I've got to get my bumming gear, and I've got to make that competition like properly on the Gleam website, or using Gleam or whatever it is you do. So I've obviously got to get my bumming gear and get that happening, so then I can leave the link for you in the description of the video. In fact, if anything, going back to the YouTube point, being able to access the descriptions on videos would be really nice, Sony and YouTube, because sometimes a lot of stuff is left in the description. The amount of times I've heard a video say, and this is in the description, and you can't access the description. That's just mince. Right, see, I'm doing it again. I'm going and finding more things. Right, I'm going to stop now. Okay guys, so you know the drill by now. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, aye, nae bother.